So coming to stand at the top of your mat, take a moment here to organize the body, grounding down strongly through your feet. And as much as you ground down, use that same exertion and reach out through the crown of your head, finding lots of extension through the spine. And then start to send your breath into your fingertips, pulling your entire body into your breath. You can inhale your hands in front of heart center, and let's set an intention for our practice. Knowing that this intention is a place that you can always come back to at any point, grounding down and finding strength throughout our time here together. Let's gently open our eyes, releasing your arms by your side, and start to move through your Ujjayi breath. So the breath is in and out through the nose, slight constriction at the back of your throat, making your breath audible. And with your next inhale, let's bend our knees nice and deep. Inhale your arms above head into Utkatasana, and exhale, fold forward into Uttanasana. Inhale, look up with a flat spine. Exhale, jump or step back into high plank. Lower Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. With your next inhale, step your right foot in between your hands. Drop your left knee onto the mat and inhale your arms up for one breath, Anjaneyasana. Exhale your hands down onto either side of your right foot. Inhale, straighten your back leg, stepping into high plank and lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, step your left foot forward. Same action here. Drop your right knee and allow your inhale to rise your arms up towards the ceiling for one breath. And then exhale your hands back down onto the mat. Inhale, straighten your right leg, step back into high plank. We'll lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And always taking your time here in the first downward facing dog to really organize and start to stack the spine. So you can do this by bending into the knees slightly here. Really curl the tailbone up towards the ceiling and ground your hands strongly down into the mat as you push back. And if you can maintain this length and space through the spine, then you can start to slowly straighten the legs. And with your next inhale, let's bring our gaze forward. Jump or step to the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, reach the crown of the head forward. And exhale, bring your belly button towards your knees. Let's bend our knees once again. Inhale your arms up into Utkatasana. And then straighten your legs and bring your arms by your side into Samastitihi. Good again. Let's bend our knees, sitting back into chair posture. Inhale, your arms come up. And exhale, fold forward into Uttanasana, straight legs. Inhale, look up with a flat spine. Exhale, jump or step back into high plank. And with your shoulders over your wrists, let's lower here. Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, your right foot steps forward. Left knee drops down onto the mat, keeping your left toes tucked under. Inhale your arms up for Anjaneyasana. Exhale your hands back down onto the mat. Inhale, straighten your left leg, step back into high plank and lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Switching sides, your left foot steps forward. Same action here. With your inhale, let's come up with the arms. Ground strongly down into the mat with that left foot and your right knee and your right toes. And then exhale your hands back down to the mat. Straighten your back leg, step back into high plank and lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Beautiful. And at this point in our practice, we should really be setting into the rhythm of our breath. So again, in and out through the nose, slight constriction to the back of your throat, making your breath audible. You'll start to understand as you deepen your practice that this is a really important key factor, is creating this consistent, dedicated, rhythmic breath. And it becomes the key into connecting the mind and the body throughout our practice. Good, let's bring our gaze forward. Jumper step to the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, fold forward. Let's bend our knees, sitting back into chair posture. Inhale, your arms come up. And then exhale, straighten your legs and arms come by your side. Samastitihi. Let's do one more. Let's bend our knees, sitting back into Utkatasana. Arms come up. Exhale, straighten your legs and fold forward into Uttanasana. Inhale, look up with a flat spine. Exhale, jumper step back into high plank. Lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Anjaneyasana, your right foot steps forward. Left knee drops down onto the mat and inhale your arms up. One breath here. Exhale, your hands come back down onto the mat. Inhale, straighten your back leg, step back into high plank. And lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Last side, inhale, step your left foot forward. Dropping your right knee down onto the mat. Let's rise up with the arms. And exhale your hands back down onto the mat. Straighten your back leg, step back into high plank. And lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Beautiful. So bringing our awareness into the back of the body, into those lines we discussed at the beginning of our practice. Connecting from the soles of your feet all the way down into your arms and into your fingertips. And allow the back of the body to really support you in these postures. And let's bring our gaze forward. Jumper step to the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, fold forward. Bending your knees, sitting back into Utkatasana. Inhale, your arms come up. And then exhale, straighten your legs. Arms come by your side into Samastitihi. Good, moving into Chandrasana. Let's interlace our hands and reach your palms straight up towards the ceiling. Finding the length here first through the spine. Grounding through your feet evenly. And then let's come up and over to the right. Making sure that you're finding just as much extension into the right side of the body as you are into the left. Keep the pelvis square to the front of the room and keep reaching. And let's inhale back up through center. Lengthen here as you ground down through your feet and then come up and over to the left for Chandrasana. Again, find the support in the back of the body, allowing it to wrap around to the front. And then find that expansion through the chest here. Good, let's inhale back up through center. One more breath here, and then exhale, take a slight back bend. Just as far as the body allows. Remember, we're still warming up the spine. Take one more breath. And then exhale back up through center, releasing your hands by your side into Samastitihi. Let's take a vinyasa. Inhale, your arms come up, lengthen here. And exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, look up with a flat spine. Exhale, jumper step back into high plank. Lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bringing your gaze forward, jumper step to the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise all the way up nice and strong. Gaze comes up. And exhale, arms by your side into Samastitihi. Now let's take a step back with our right foot. Right toes are going to point towards the back of the room. Left angled in slightly for Utthita Trikonasana. So our legs are straight. Inhale, your arms up parallel with the mat. And exhale, your right hand onto your shin, top of your foot, or to the inside edge of your right foot. And if you're kind of in between one of those stages, just grab a block here. Again, we're working to keep that front leg straight. And then ground strongly into your right hand wherever it lands and extend your left fingertips up towards the ceiling. Maybe finding a little more expansion in through the chest. Good. Really reaching through the back of the body. Taking one more breath here. And then we'll move into Parvrita Trikonasana. So let's drop both hands onto either side of your right foot and step your left foot in, squaring your hips now to the back of the room. So both of your feet are pointing towards the back of the room. And a slight bend into that front knee is fine as you establish the posture. Eventually, we're going to take our left hand onto our right shin or to the outer edge of your right foot or onto a block. Your right hand can remain on your sacrum as you find that balance point through the pelvis. And then when you're ready, full extension is to reach your right arm up towards the ceiling and bring your gaze up. I'm not so concerned with how deeply you twist into the posture, but more so that you can really connect to that central channel line from your pelvic floor through the crown of your head. So first find the space through the spine, and then with that extension, you can start to find your twist. And let's drop both hands down onto either side of that right foot again, keeping the pelvis squared. And you can either walk your hands out in front of you and just fold forward over that right leg, or for a variation here, you can start to walk your hands back, flipping your palms around so that your fingertips are pointing towards your back foot. And then use your hands to ground strongly down to the mat, pulling your torso towards that right leg. Remember, if you've come into the posture too deeply, your breath will become short and shallow. So just back out slightly so that you can pull deep Ujjayi breaths back into the body. And with your next inhale, allow the torso to rise all the way up. Let's pivot on the toes, and we're going to move into Utthita Trikonasana on the left. Left toes towards the front of the room now. Right toes angled towards the side. Inhale your arms up parallel with the mat, and then exhale into the posture. Left hand onto your shin, top of your foot, or to the inside edge of your left foot. Good. See if you can find a little more extension to the left side of the body. Reach the crown of the head forward, and then extend the breath up into your right fingertips. You want your entire body to be taking part in the experience of this posture. In Parvrita Trikonasana, let's drop both hands onto either side of your left foot. Step your right foot in, squaring through the hips. And then let's take our right hand onto our left shin or outside edge of your left foot. Left hand can remain on your sacrum or reach it up towards the ceiling for your twist. Taking the same actions here, establishing the foundation with the body, and then for the last few breaths, so you can really drop the mind into the posture, remaining focused and dedicated to that breath. And let's unwind from the twist. Both hands onto either side of your left foot, either walking your hands out in front of you or walk them back, flip your palms and start to pull down on the mat and work your torso towards that left leg. Good. Keep reaching the crown of the head down towards the mat, connecting to that central channel line, pulling up on the pelvic floor. And then watch as you start to connect the entire spine together, lengthening and extending on all angles. And with your next inhale, let's rise up to standing and come to stand at the top of your mat into Samastitihi. Taking another vinyasa here. Inhale, let's come up with the arms, lengthen here, and exhale, fold forward into Uttanasana. Inhale, look up with a flat spine. Exhale, jump or step back into high plank. And if you need to, you can lower your knees as you lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Bringing your gaze forward, jump or step to the top of your mat. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, let's rise all the way up. And come to stand at the top of your mat into Samastitihi. Once again, let's take a step back with our right foot. We're moving into Veer Vajrasana B, so right toes pointing towards the back of the room. and your left heel is lifted up, stacking that heel directly over your left toes. Bending into your front knee so it's stacked directly over your ankle. Keep the pelvis squared and reach your arms up. Palms can touch here, or if you need a little more space in through the shoulders, you can bring your palms slightly apart and really drop your shoulders down and in to your back. Good. If you need a little more strength in the posture, you're going to start to pull your right hip back, left hip forward, and pull up on the pelvic floor. Now your entire central channel is working to strengthen here and hold the posture where it needs to be held. Getting from Veer Vajrasana D, let's open the arms up wide into Veer Vajrasana B. Now facing the torso to the center and side wall. Let's bring our gaze straight forward. So not over your right fingertips, but straight in front of you so that we're stacking from the pelvic floor through the crown of your head. And start to find that central point through the torso so that it lines up and stacks properly here. And you'll know that you've clued into that central channel line when the body feels supported, but it also feels this expansion. Starts to feel this opening. Good. Inhale, straighten your front leg. We're going to pivot on the toes, moving into Veer Vajrasana D on the left. So your left toes are facing the front of the room now. Same with your right toes. Lift your back heel and start to sink into that left knee. Making sure it's at a 90-degree angle. And then bring your arms up. Recognizing that we are starting to unwind the tissue of the body here. Slowly working our way through so that we can create more space and start to reprogram the body on a physical level. And let's open our arms up wide to the side, moving to Veer Vajrasana B. Keep sinking into that front knee. Using your strong legs here to support the posture and to find the lightness out through the crown of your head. And let's inhale, straighten your left leg and come to stand at the top of your mat into Samastitihi. Another vinyasa. Inhale, let's come on up with the arms. Gaze comes up. And exhale, fold forward into Uttanasana. Inhale, look up with a flat spine. Exhale, jump or step back into high plank. We'll lower here, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Moving into our Anjaneyasa variation, let's step our right foot in between our hands and drop your left knee down onto the mat. So there's a few options here. You can bring both arms up towards the ceiling if this is deep enough in the posture. And you can remain working here as long as you're pulling up on the pelvic floor, pulling up onto the torso so that you're supported here and keep sinking into that front knee. For our second variation, we're going to interlace the hands behind our back and start to reach them down our left leg, bringing your gaze up towards the ceiling and expanding through the chest. Ensuring that you're not sinking too deeply into that pelvis and losing the integrity of the posture. Keep lifting up and out of the pelvis here. One more breath. Good, and let's release our hands onto either side of your right foot and move into our prep posture for our splits for Hanumanasana or into our full variation. So you can walk your right foot forward, your toes come up towards the ceiling, and whatever point you land with your splits, I want you to make sure that you can still play with the placement of your hips. So you want to be pulling that right hip back, left hip forward, and still have movement. So don't come too deep into the posture that you're starting to open up to the side. Good, really honoring the body here. You can also use a block under that right leg, especially if you're close enough down onto the mat so that you're fully supported and maybe even reaching your arms up towards the ceiling. And let's gently make our way out of the posture, bringing your hands down onto the mat and step back into downward facing dog. And we'll switch sides now, stepping your left foot forward, dropping your right knee down onto the mat, and then move into the same variation of Anjaneyasana as you did on the other side. So either bringing your arms straight up towards the ceiling, or maybe interlacing your hands behind your back and reaching them down your right leg. We really want the arch of the back to be working into the upper back. So ensuring you're not dropping into the lower back here and that you feel any pain. Come back out of the posture, square through the hips, lift up and out of the pelvis here. And then with that constant support, now come up and back. You should feel a really big difference from the first time you were doing it. Get an unwinding from the posture. Let's release our hands down onto the mat and move into Hanumanasana. So your variation of the splits. And if you've lost the intention of your breath, see if you can really ground down back into it and connect to that same rhythm that you started your practice with. You want that same level of dedication and consistency running through the entire practice. And while this may not come right away, eventually this is our goal. Good. Let's release from the posture, stepping back into high plank. We'll lower here, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. We'll move into Utkatasana or pigeon posture. So let's inhale our right shin behind our right wrist crease. Dropping your back knee onto the mat, but keep your back toes tucked under this month. If you need a little more space, if it's too intense, then just work your right heel in towards your pelvis here. And if it is a little bit too easy, then you're going to work your heel away from your pelvis and keep lifting and squaring here through the hips. You can either stay up here on your fingertips, or we're going to move into our twist by threading our left arm behind our right. Your hands can come together into prayer. You're going to ground them strongly into the mat, so you should feel a lift here. We want to ensure we're never collapsing down into the posture. And if this posture feels intense, that's okay. This intensity is good as long as it is matched with that same intensity and level of breath. The hips can hold a lot of emotions and tension here. So it requires us to do postures like this for a little bit longer in order to fully unwind them and start to create this opening and shift. And let's unwind from our twist, bringing your hands back onto either side of your front foot. And then you can either stay here, especially if this is deep enough, or we're going to add on this month by bending your left knee, catching onto your foot either with one hand and drawing it forward, or you can see the second variation here. We're going to latch on with both hands, flex through that left foot and start to kick your foot back, opening up through the chest, creating that same beautiful opening through the upper back. Good, and let's release that foot down onto the mat and make our way into downward facing dog. Just taking a moment here before we switch sides. Now inhaling that left shin forward. Utkatasana on the left. Once you found the balance through your pelvis, then you can move into your variation, either staying up on your fingertips or moving into your twist. So dropping that right arm behind your left, bringing your hands into prayer. Good. Keep organizing and lifting, organizing and lifting. It's this same intention and movement over and over again in our postures. And once you really clue in and check into these back body lines, it'll make a lot more sense. Very good. Let's come back up onto our fingertips, either staying here or bending your back knee, catching on with one hand, or taking the full variation, catching on with both hands and starting to kick back. Finding your breath here for 3, 2, and 1. Very good. Gently release that foot down. Hands come down onto the mat. Step back into high plank. Feel free to drop your knees down to the mat and lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good, let's bring our gaze forward. We're going to jump all the way through onto our seat, taking your legs straight out in front of you for a forward seated fold. So toes are up towards the ceiling, ground strongly through your heels, and start to work your torso forward. Gaze can come back past your toes or towards your belly button. And just starting to, again, move your awareness into the back of the body and feel this wrapping sensation as it comes around to the front, supporting this opening. And then maybe extending a little deeper into the posture for your last few breaths. Good, sitting up nice and tall. Let's take our legs nice and wide here for Revista Konasana. So again, you want to ensure that your toes are up towards the ceiling and that you're grounding strongly through your heels. So this might be your posture here, just bringing your hands back behind you, or even coming up onto a block if you're really sinking down into the pelvis here and you need a little more space through the hips. If you can move a little bit deeper, you're going to walk your hands out in front of you and maybe eventually catching onto your feet. Keep flowing that breath through your entire body. Envisioning it going into those areas in the body that are extremely tight, and filling that area with a little more space that you can move into. Beautiful. Let's sit up nice and tall, bringing your feet together, and then let's come to lie flat onto our back, and we'll set up for our backbend practice. So let's bring our knees up towards the ceiling, feet flat onto the mat. You should always be able to graze your heels with your fingertips. And then place your arms back by your side and inhale. Let's lift our pelvis up towards the ceiling. And as I walk you through these stages, feel free to stop wherever is best for your body. If you're adding on, let's bring our hands onto our lower back and lift your pelvis up towards the ceiling, walking your elbows a little more underneath you for support. If you're adding on, hands come beside your ears, fingertips pointing towards your heels. Pushing on to the crown of the head, reestablishing the foundation with your hands and your feet. And then pushing into your full wheel, if that is in your practice. And if you're in your full wheel, try to even the weight between your hands and your feet and keep reaching your belly button up towards the ceiling. Beautiful. Let's tuck our chin and come to lie flat onto your back. Really reaching your arms above your head, reaching through your legs, and then settling into the sensations that arise from your back bend. And let's take one more here. So you can feel free to move through the stages and stop wherever is best for you. If you're coming into your full wheel, let's start in step 3. So knees up towards the ceiling, feet flat onto the mat. Your hands are coming beside your ears. Then we're going to push onto the crown of the head and then all the way up into your full wheel. And try to keep that breath flowing throughout the body here for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very good. Come to lie flat onto your back. Let's bring our knees in towards our chest. Rolling on the spine here a little bit, softening through that lower back. And then let's take a few rocks back and forth, coming all the way up onto our seat and then forward onto our hands and knees for our headstand, Salameh Sarvangasana. Or we're going to just come into our headstand prep, into Shavasana. So let's bring our forearms out in front of us. You should be able to interlace onto opposite elbow here. So connecting your hand onto opposite elbow. And then this is just how close your arms have to stay. So releasing your arms now here, let's interlace our fingers together, keeping your palms nice and wide. You're going to place the crown of your head onto the mat and support the back of your head with your hands. Now you're going to tuck your toes like downward facing dog, straightening your legs and start to walk your toes forward. Eventually you're wanting your hips to come directly over your shoulders. And then you can just work here by lifting one leg for a few breaths. Lower that leg and then lift the other. If the strength is there and there's very little weight on the crown of the head, eventually your feet will just float up off of the mat and you can come into your full posture. But again, there is no rush here. The prep posture is just as good as coming up into your full posture. Good. Couple more breaths here. Find the lift wherever you are. And let's gently start to come down, making your way into child's posture. So coming down onto your knees, resting your sit bones back towards your heels. Arms can come by your side, resting the crown of or the top of your head onto the mat. Pressing that third eye down, finding the support you need here in child's posture. Just reestablishing that connection with the body, coming back into that balance point, that equilibrium that we're attempting to create throughout this practice. And starting to roll up through the spine. We'll swing both feet off to one side and come to lay flat onto our back. And we'll move into Halasana. So bringing your legs up towards the ceiling and dropping your toes behind your head. Hands can come onto your lower back for support. And if your toes don't quite reach the mat, that's okay. Bring a bend into your knees and work them towards your forehead. Coming back into that idea of lifting up out of the pelvis. So lifting your pelvis up towards the ceiling and reaching your shoulders away from your ears. So we're always creating space, even in these tighter postures. And let's start to roll down through the spine, coming down vertebrae by vertebrae, down onto the mat. Making your way into Shavasana, our final resting posture. So legs are wide, feet flop out to the side. Arms are by our side, palms can be facing up. If you need a little more energy for the rest of your day, or down if you're ready to move into full relaxation or sleep after the sequence. Find a little more extension through the neck. And then see if you can drop into the softest breath possible. Understanding that the softer the breath becomes here, the softer the body becomes. Shifting your entire nervous system as we move into this final posture. Let's start to bring full deep breaths back into the body. And for a moment here, before we start to move the body, see if you can just bring your awareness into this space that you got to during Shavasana. Just making note of it so that the next time you start from this place, moving right into it. And when you're ready, you can bring your knees in towards your chest, rolling onto the right side of your body. And gently make your way up to a comfortable seated position at the top of your mat. And once you've found your tall spine, you can be sitting up on a block if this helps the position here. We're going to move into our pranayama. So moving into a few breathing techniques or exercises, and then a short guided meditation. So you want a nice tall spine here. Drop your shoulders down your back. Slight pulling up of the pelvic floor and a slight tucking of the chin to find full extension through the spine. And then just for the next few breaths, bring full awareness into your inhales and exhales. Just your natural breath, moving in and out through the body. And then with that breath, we'll move into Nadi Shodhana. So let's bring our right hand up. Your right thumb is going to control your nostril, your right nostril. You're going to drop the next two fingers to touch your palm. And then your last two fingers are going to control your left nostril. So let's take an inhale, bring your hand up towards your face. And a full exhale here. Let's block our left nostril. Inhale through your right. Finding the peak of your inhale, block your right, and exhale through your left. Inhale through your left. At the peak, block your left, and exhale through your right. Good. Again, inhale through your right. The top, block your right, exhale through your left. Inhale through your left. The peak, block your left, exhale through your right. Let's do two more. Inhale through your right. The peak, block your right, exhale through your left. Inhale through your left. Peak, block your left, exhale through your right. Inhale through your right. The peak, block your right, exhale through your left. Inhale through your left. The peak, block your left, and fully exhale through your right. Releasing your hand down onto your knee and come back into your natural breath. Just noticing any subtle sensations that rise up through the breath work. So Nadi Shodhana works to bring balance between the right side of the body and the left side of the body, or the right hemisphere of the brain and the left hemisphere of the brain. Working to release any blocks that exist in the main energy channels in the body. So again, always coming back into that balance point, that equilibrium. And then we'll move into Samavriti. So it's just equal balanced breath. So the breath is in and out through the nose. And we're looking to create a really consistent, smooth, rhythmic breath here. And balance out the inhales with the exhales. So balancing it in length, in pressure, and integrity. So let's take a full inhale here through your nose. Find the comfortable peak and then a full exhale. And you're going to continue on your own. I'll tell you when to stop the breath. But keep your full awareness into the breathing, and again, really balance the breath out. So if you need to count your inhales for a count of 4 or 5, make sure that your exhales are that exact same length. Eventually, the breath becomes so smooth and rhythmic that you can't even tell where one breath starts and where one ends. It just continuously flows one into the next. Let's do one more here. And then keeping your eyes closed, let's soften, moving into your natural breath. Finding this rhythm that you can maintain and that can guide you into your meditation. So first we drop our awareness into the breath, guiding us into the center point in the body where we feel support. And then gently guide your awareness into the space that exists just outside of the body, following the spine. So resting your awareness in space. And then let's move this awareness into the space that exists between your ears. Resting into this space. And then bring your awareness into the space that exists between your shoulders, in space. And then lastly, let's bring our awareness just above the crown of the head, just outside of the body, resting into this space. Keeping your eyes closed. Let's bring our awareness back, taking a couple deep breaths here. Guiding your hands in front of heart center, resting into your intention one last time. Paying close attention to the space, the quality of space you've created through this practice. And see if you can carry that forward into the rest of your day. Gently opening your eyes. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste.